Sup, everyone? We got Joey D over there, and I'm Timmy B. And this is the next episode of the Flea Flicker, where we will be picking week 6 of the NFL games. Apologies that we had no reaction here at the Flea Flicker. We decided to take the happy wife, happy life approach as Joe was taking care of his sick wife. So we missed out on talking about all the missed field goals, the amazing Ravens comeback by my guy Lamar Jackson,
Yep.
and a bunch of Week 5 NFL games. But hey, Joe, we're still here. We're ready to make our picks. How are you doing today?
Tim, I'm doing great. Thanks for mentioning Brooke. She's doing
Mm.
much better as well. But it was a long week for us both between having some people down here to go to the Eagles game
Woo!
with, which was a lot of fun. A lot of Eagles fans in Charlotte. That was great. And then staying up late for that Monday night game, which was a fantastic game. I know you were at, Tim.
Woo, baby.
So it was a long week, and then the Eagles got to play on Thursday night football. So not a lot of sleep for Joe this week. Made up for it this morning, but we're doing good. We're doing good.
Yeah, not a lot of sleep for me either as well. And you mentioned it, Joe. The Eagles played on Thursday night, hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll go ahead and talk about that game real quick. Buccaneers win 28-22. Now, Joe, you predicted, I believe it was, 37-13. I predicted 24-20. I thought it would be a close game, and it was. But the Bucs win 28-22. Eagles had an opportunity if they stopped Tom Brady. They definitely would have done it, but Tom Brady does what Tom Brady normally does and gets a couple of
Right.
first downs to put away the clock. Now, Joe, thoughts on the Eagles? I guess comeback. I mean, it was 21-7 at half, 28-7, 28-14. So talk about the Eagles coming back in the second half and making this game, and what were your thoughts on playing a very good Buccaneers team?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they keep having to come back in these games is just indicative of how terrible the offense has been in the first half against good
I mean,
teams
Miles
this year.
Sanders one carry in the first half.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Jalen Hurts had like 50 yards or something of passing. Just this offense has to get out of its own way. They're putting the defense in such a tough spot, even when the defense, I thought, overall played as well as you could hope against Tom
Mhm.
Brady. They did, I don't think they sacked him anytime, but they pressured him, hurried him, got an interception, got a couple stops on third down. They I thought did their job as well as could be expected under the circumstances, but the offense just did not help them out in the first half. So, I've always felt like Jalen Hurts is going to be a great fantasy quarterback because if we're losing, he can drive down with his legs, pick up points that way. And we saw 2 rushing touchdowns in the second half this week. But I mean, again, you're relying on penalties to get down the field. A big pass interference call. You're finally running the ball in the second half. Yeah, I'm right now. Temperature check on Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. I'm not sold on either of them right now. Right now, I think that I just don't know. It's like that chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Is Sirianni, is his play calling limited because of the quarterback that he has in Jalen Hurts, or is Jalen Hurts not executing the play calls that Sirianni's putting in there, or could be surrounded by better play calling than we're seeing? So I just don't know who's at fault really. But what's clear is that something's not right, and I don't know if it's the Sirianni and Jalen Hurts pairing, if that's not really the offense that Sirianni wants to run, or, he's just not kind of playing into Jalen's strengths enough. I just don't know. But right now it's looking like those 3 first round picks, which are right now all in the top 8. So let's stop the count. That's
Yeah.
fine. The season ends today. That's great. But it's looking like those picks are going to be used to get a new quarterback this offseason.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the fantasy output of Jalen Hurts. Matthew Berry put him on his love hate list, and after the game, everybody was like, "Aren't you regretting that you put him on the love list?" And he was like, "He scored 25 points. I don't know like why people are upset." Like he's like, "Do you not want
Yeah,
25 points from your quarterback?"
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like he's still like a top 5 fantasy quarterback because of that dual threat and because of his opportunities to run and get some running rushing touchdowns. I'm on the case of like I think we see the talent of Hurts. We just need to. I think it's more on Sirianni and his play calling. But I just don't understand. You have such a great talent in Miles Sanders, and you just don't hand him the football. And I think that could open it up a little bit more if you don't want
Right.
because like if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm assuming that Jalen Hurts is going to be the one coming out of that option, not Miles Sanders or even a Kenneth Gainwell. So I'm planning for Jalen to run. Now, if you give Miles Sanders, 10, 15 carries a game. That opens up the offense a little bit more. But Joe, good news is you got a little mini break. Schedule's a little bit easier for the Eagles at the for the rest of the season. Really, I mean, they got an extra long break to prepare for the Raiders. The Lions should be a win as well. Chargers probably the only L written up, and then as you mentioned before we recorded, a bunch of divisional matchups, which right now look like a bunch of wins with the Giants and the football team for sure. So
Right.
hopefully better days ahead for the Eagles and Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. I mean, we picked them to win. Everybody picked them to win more or less.
Right.
So
So
Buccaneers,
yeah. And with that being said, I'm happy it was as close a game as it ended up being. I thought it was really going to be a blowout. So I'll give Sirianni and his teams this. They don't quit. They don't fight.
yeah,
They play 4 quarters, and if they play a complete 4 quarter game where everyone's firing on all cylinders, then you have the result of what we saw in Atlanta week 1. So
yeah,
we just haven't seen that happen since then.
yeah, and I don't know. I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to say let's hop into the picks. But anyways, Joe, last week since we didn't talk about it in the reaction, you went 14-2. You nailed almost every single game. I think that's definitely the best. It's probably tied for the best. I don't know if we went 14-2 last year. To me, maybe.
I can't recall.
I can
Maybe.
definitely check the notes for sure. But you're at least tied for the best week, if not the best week. So I went 11-5. So I think you're at least like a whole week ahead of me. You're like plus 8, 9, or 10 right now. So
Let's go.
definitely
I could take a bye.
you could please take a bye. But hopefully this 17th game helps us back in. So Joe, you ready to make some picks?
Let's get into it, Timmy B.
Let's do it, my friend. All right, so we got another London game. Last week we had the Falcons defeating the Jets. That was one of your 2 losses. This week we got the Dolphins at the Jaguars. Technically, I think that they're the home team. Dolphins are a 2.5 point favorite. Looks like Tua is going to be back in this game. The over under is at 47. Jaguars had a bad performance last week, especially with the Urban Meyer news losing to the Titans and Derrick Henry having another billion yards. So, Joe, can the Jaguars pull it out again, or are we seeing a Dolphins win? I think this is going to be an ugly game. I think this is probably going to be a very low-scoring game. I really don't want to pick a winner, but we got to pick a winner, Joe.
Yeah, I think so too, Tim. I mean, I think that there is a chance the Jaguars could win. I mean, neither of these teams are very great. And, in London, that's where the Jaguars have
Mm,
like probably, they probably have the biggest fan base in London out of any team just because they go there every year.
yeah,
So I think that could help out as well. If the Jags didn't have this drama in the offseason or, everything with Urban Meyer going on and, you know, we're just playing a little bit better, I'd be inclined to pick them. But even though the Dolphins aren't doing that great and, Tua hasn't been all that and coming back, I'm going to be rusty off of injury. And I want the Dolphins to lose for sure. I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win because, they're just the more talented team, less distractions. And, they're just a more complete football team. So I think that they should win this game. If they don't, that'll be rough for them, but great for the Eagles. So I'll be all right with it.
yeah. I'm with you. I'm going with the Dolphins as well. It's going to be an ugly game. I'm just going with the Dolphins' talent and coaching with Brian Flores and that defense. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins on this one. And now
Miles Gaskin maybe gets going again. He's finally getting involved.
you know what? I drafted him in fantasy, so I'm glad to see that he got a couple of touchdowns last week. Hopefully that continues, especially with Devontae Parker out, and we'll get to a bunch of injuries and such, and even the trade. We'll get to that when we get to the Cardinals game because that also has a lot of injuries. But now we're moving on to the 1 o'clock slate, Joe. We got the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are a 10-point favorite coming off just a brutal loss to the Ravens on Monday Night Football. Over under is 43.5. Now, Joe, are we going to see this same Colts team that we saw Monday night? Carson Wentz, almost 400 passing yards, 500 yards of offense. Are we going to see that Colts? Did they figure it out? Or are we going to see a close battle with the Texans? Because the Texans are playing, and I know they're the Texans, and I know we say how bad they are, but they're playing some good ball still. So what's your pick in this game?
Tim, this is actually my suicide pick this week.
Oh,
I am going with the Colts over the Texans in this game. The Colts are at home. They are 1-4. They are desperate. Their division is also pretty poor, so everything is still ahead of them. They played probably their best game of the season last week against Baltimore,
still
and
lost.
are still lost for sure. Trust me. I know that's what Carson Wentz does all the time. He has like his best game, but just like statistically, it's like a fantastic game. But he'll have missed a couple plays here and there, some crucial turnover at some point, which he had that fumble in the first
Mhm.
quarter, which ended up being huge. Um, so I just feel like right now Colts are desperate. They cannot afford this loss. They're at home. They've got an easier stretch of games coming up with a lot of winnable games, and I just feel like right now they're starting to get a little bit more back on track, and they might go on a little bit of a run right here, but I don't think anything significant. I think they're just the better team than the Texans. While the Texans are playing well and better than they have, it's still Davis Mills going up against a very good Colts defense. So I like the Colts in this one, and they're desperate. They have to have this win, and so do I in my suicide pick, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going with the Colts as well. I think it comes down to I just don't think Davis Mills can replicate what he did last week. 3 touchdowns. One was a flea flicker. That was awesome. Wide open
Shout
flea
out
flicker. I
us.
just, yeah, shout out us. I don't think that there's going to be that thing like we saw Lamar throw the ball over this Colts secondary last week. I don't see Davis Mills doing that. I do think the Colts bounce back after a tough loss. I agree with you. I'm going with the Colts as well. And now we are moving on to one of the kitty cat bowls in the NFL that happens every so often. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, a 3.5 point favorite at the Detroit Lions. The over under is 47, excuse me, not 4-7, 47. Joe, is this the game that Dan Campbell finally pulls it out? I mean, another 19-17 loss on a last second field goal, giving up 40, 50 yards with 30 seconds to go to an offense to get them in field goal position. Is this the game against Joe Burrow's Bengals that the Lions can pull out their first win?
I don't think it is, Tim. I mean, this Bengals offense has just been firing on all cylinders. Their defense has been playing a lot better than they have in recent years. And I mean, the Lions continue to, play hard, but just not finish these games.
Mhm.
And, the Bengals are also coming off of a heartbreaker where they didn't finish. And, Aaron Rodgers and Mason Crosby got the win against them after a bunch of missed field goals. So shout out Justin Tucker and Jake Elliott for not
Yeah.
doing that, except then Jake Elliott goes and misses a field goal, on Thursday Night Football. So that's great. But I just think that the Bengals are playing with a lot more confidence, a lot more swagger right now, while the Lions are still trying to find themselves and just develop an identity under Dan Campbell. They're playing hard, but the Bengals I just think have a lot more talent on the offensive side of the ball. With Bengals are going to be able to score points on most people, and Lions I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up or really slow the Bengals offense down. So yeah, give me the Bengals in the easy one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bengals as well. I would love to pick the Lions. I can see them winning this game. I need to get a couple of games on you, Joe. I just can't pick the Lions right now. So I'm going with the Bengals. And I think a key to see is Joe Burrow and his third contusion. He is on voice rest. I still don't think that matters. I think they have a bunch of playmakers on offense to move the ball. People forget the Ravens game against the Lions. Hollywood dropped like 3 touchdowns. So that could have been a lot
Right.
worse. I can see very similar things from the Bengals passing game. So I'm going with the Bengals as well, Joe. And yeah, shout out to all the missed kicks last week, specifically Rodrigo Blankenship in the Monday night game. Not so much Mason Crosby and Evan McPherson. I had the over in that game, so I needed 7 more points in that game, and there was like 6 mixed field goals at the end. So definitely could have used a little bit more points. Speaking of those Green Bay Packers, Joe, they are on the road against their biggest rival, the Chicago Bears. Packers are a 6 point favorite on the road. The over under is 44.5. A lot of things happening. Aaron Rodgers coming into town to play the Packers or the Bears, excuse me. We got they seem to be clicking a little bit more. We got Justin Fields making his start. Joe, can Justin Fields beat Aaron Rodgers this week?
I'm not going to pick Justin Fields to upset against Aaron Rodgers. I'm going with the Packers, but the formula is the run game for them. And unfortunately, it takes a hit with both David Montgomery being injured and now Damian Williams on the COVID list. So it's going to be all Khalil Herbert and, basically Justin Fields. I think that their fullback or fourth string running back, I think his last name is Nall. He might be getting some touches, but, it's going to be all Herbert and Fields really in the run game. And while the Packers do have a susceptible run defense, Jair Alexander also out this week, so Allen Robinson could have a big game.
Mm.
It's definitely gonna be tough for the Bears to do that consistently though. But if they can take advantage of the weaknesses on this Green Bay defense, then they can make it interesting. But I just think that Rodgers is going to be able to continue to move the ball at will. Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, also a big game. I just don't think the Bears are there yet. And, it's Justin Fields' second start, and you're asking him to outduel Aaron Rodgers toe to toe. Yeah, I don't think so. Give me Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just gonna go with Aaron Rodgers, like you. I think they could win, but too many injuries in that running game. Likewise, it's Aaron Rodgers against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers generally shows up against the Bears, has a very very good
Right.
record, and this is the last two times he'll be playing as a Green Bay Packer in this game. So I think he'll be wanting to win them. So I'm going with the Packers as well. There's probably going to be most of the games will be. I don't know how many games I'm going to go opposite of you, Joe. So I don't know if we'll be catching up. But the next game we got is the Rams at the New York Giants. Rams are a 8-point road favorite. Over under is 49.5. Looks like Daniel Jones might actually be playing. Either way, still Mike Glennon or Daniel Jones as your quarterback. No Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney. When he's not punching people, he'll be in the game as well. Rams Giants show. Rams going to the East Coast. Do you see any trouble from the Rams, or do you think they win pretty easily?
I don't see any trouble. I mean, with the Giants' offensive line being as poor as it is, I think Aaron Donald's going to feast. If Daniel Jones plays, I think he's going to get hit early and just start getting rattled and turn the ball over. I mean, he doesn't have that Saquon to hand the ball off and just hope for the best, and
Yeah,
not really have to do a lot himself. But with no Saquon, with a couple of receivers down, going up against a Rams offense that has also been able to score a lot of points. I think Daniel Jones is going to be asked to do a lot in this game, and I just don't think he'll be able to deliver. So, give me the Rams. I just think Aaron Donald's going to, wreck them, and Jalen Ramsey's going to erase whoever he covers, and then the rest of their defense is good enough to cover, whoever the Giants are trotting out there. I mean, we got maybe Sterling Shepard. We got Tony. I don't think Kenny Galladay is playing. Um, I'm not sure if Darius Slayton's playing. I mean,
yeah.
Evan Ingram, is anyone worried about Evan Ingram? I know James Taylor isn't. So yeah, I just don't see it with the Giants in this one. Rams are too good, and Giants just they're not it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good wake up game for the Rams defense. This entire season, they've still been, there. They're still winning some games, obviously, but I think this is like, all right, we're still here. Yes, we did lose our defensive coordinator, but we still have Aaron Donald. We still have Jalen Ramsey. We still have a bunch of these playmakers. So I think this is a get right game for that Rams defense. I think they
Yeah.
win pretty easily for sure, especially on that offensive side with the Rams. I think Stafford is clicking with the wide receiver. So big fan of the Rams this week. And now we are moving on to the Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. Joe, you were in Charlotte last weekend for the Eagles Panthers game. Vikings are a 2.5 point road favorite going on the road to Charlotte. Over under is 45.5. No Christian McCaffrey again. Joe, you were there last week. It was not gonna lie, it was a pretty brutal game to watch. I mean, 21-18, just a couple of turnovers, not really any moving the ball or anything. But can the Panthers bounce back after a tough loss, a comeback loss against the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, this is a tough game. I feel like this is one that could go either way. Watching the Panthers last week in person, I really was not impressed with Sam Darnold. Darius Slay covered DJ Moore man to man pretty much the entire game and just followed him. They didn't have McCaffrey to hand the ball off to. The Chuba Hubbard had a very good game, and the D line got there. So if the D line can get pressure and start making Sam Darnold see those ghosts again, then yeah, he'll turn the ball over, and they won't be able to move the ball. I just don't think the Vikings defense has the guys to do that. Their D line is okay. Their secondary is suspect. I think DJ Moore has a big game and Sam Darnold bounces back. This defensive line that they have is still very good. And, the Vikings offensive line, I'm not a big believer in either. So I think that the Panthers are going to win in a very close game. I think these are two pretty evenly matched teams, and again, could go either way. So won't be shocked if you take the Vikings just to try to catch up on me here, Tim, and I lose. But I don't really trust either of these quarterbacks. But I hate Kirk Cousins, and I don't despise Sam Darnold. So that's kind of where I'm at there.
Yeah, I would love to go against you and pick the Vikings, Joe, but I just think the Panthers are a better team. Still a believer in them. Now, that belief is getting less and less these last couple of weeks for sure, but I'm going with the Panthers as well. This is a game that the Vikings need to win, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago. Their schedule just gets way, way tougher. So this is definitely a game that they need to
Yeah.
win. I think either one, whoever wins this game, gets a little bit more credibility and maybe are better than their record suggests. But I'm going with the Panthers in this one, even without Christian McCaffrey. I like you said it, that Vikings defense still don't trust him, even with Mike Zimmer. I still don't trust that defense. I do think the Panthers bounce back, and this is a game that the Panthers need to win if they are based on their moves to acquire some players both in the offseason, the draft, and even last week with Stephon Gilmore. For them to say, hey, we're here to party, this is a game that you need to win to be seriously considered
Yeah.
for a solid wild card team and maybe even a threat to win the NFC. So I'm going with the Panthers as well to win this game. Should be a fun one to watch, or it could be another ugly one to watch. We don't know. Let's see what is next. We got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Washington football team. Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. Football team is at home, retiring Sean Taylor's number on short notice. Over under is 54.5. Joe, are the Chiefs going to pull it out, or is the football team's defense going to show up finally?
Yeah, Chiefs are gonna pull it out. Easy win for the Chiefs. Yeah, don't try to trick me there, Tim. You tripped me up a little bit with your phrasing, but I mean this Washington defense, they have yet to show up. Bless you, Burke. They have yet to show up, and they're gonna show up for the first time this season against Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
and Andy Reid and the Chiefs. I don't think so. So I mean, Terry McLaurin is questionable. I think Curtis Samuel has already been ruled out. It's Taylor Heineke back there with not a lot of weapons going up against. I mean, it's not a good Chiefs defense, so maybe he has a good game. But yeah, give me Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think this is one we need to spend a lot of time on.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs as well. I think it could be a lot like the Chiefs-Eagles game, where the Chiefs just go up big, and then Heineke kind of claws back, gets a couple of touchdowns late, but it doesn't really matter. I don't see the football team stopping the Chiefs' offense at all. Likewise, I really don't see the Chiefs' defense stopping the football team's offense, but I see them stopping them enough, kind of like in that Eagles game, to force maybe some field goals or maybe a punt or two. I think that the Chiefs' defense can stop the football team's offense. I do think this will be high scoring, but the Chiefs are definitely winning this football game for sure. And now we are moving on to the final game of the 1 o'clock slate, Joe. But honestly, this might be game of the day with the Los Angeles Chargers on the road at my Baltimore Ravens. Right now, the Ravens are a 2.5-point home favorite, which basically just means we're the home team. Over under is 51.5. We have Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson, both quarterbacks in the MVP discussion. I would assume the winner becomes the favorite of the MVP discussion. Chargers, Ravens, Joe, where are your thoughts on this one, and who are you picking?
This is gonna be a really good game.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with the Chargers to
Chargers, all right.
get a different one on you. And I just love Justin Herbert and all of these weapons on this Chargers offensive side of the ball. I mean, Mike Williams is blowing up. Austin Eckler had a great game. Keenan Allen is getting huge catches every week. The offensive line is playing so well. I don't know if the Ravens defense is going to be able to pressure Herbert.
Mhm.
They have the secondary to be able to cover all of those weapons, but I
Yeah,
just
you
don't know
see us
about
on
that.
Monday night.
Well, yeah, hey, Carson Wentz was, it's Carson Wentz, Tim. You got to
Yeah,
understand.
that's
You're
true.
playing a guy who, 4 years ago was in the MVP discussion.
Mhm.
So, you gotta have your eye on him at all times. But Justin Herbert in the MVP discussion now, I think that he's the truth. I think that he's going to find ways to move the ball on this Ravens squad, and I really like the calls that Brandon Staley has been making. I think this will be a really good game to go either way. I feel really good about the Ravens this year as well. Again, another emotional victory. I mean, they've since that first loss that they had, they have just gone on a run of different types of emotional
Mhm.
victories. Not just I don't think that can be overstated. So I definitely think that the Ravens are a threat because they can right now find a way to win, and Chargers have historically often found a way to lose. I just don't think they're that type of team anymore. Brandon Staley's a great coach. They are a very balanced team, and yeah, I think it'll be a great game. But I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, and you mentioned our emotional wins, Joe. Is that we're 4-1. We're 3 plays away from being 1-4. I mean, let's not
Right.
forget that. Like somebody said that Monday night as we were walking out. They're like, we are literally 3 plays away from being 1-4. And going into this week, I was like, I'm gonna pick the Chargers, Joe. I'm gonna pick the Chargers. Even last week, I was like, I'm gonna pick the Chargers. I don't want to get into my head too much. But I think a key thing is Chargers rush defense is bottom in the NFL. It's in the bottom five, I believe, in rushing. We saw Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just run all over them last week. I think that's going to be a huge factor. Is if they can stop the run. Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball more, as we saw Monday night. Well, we had to, but you see he was throwing the ball more. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to come down to our defense against that offense. Can we stop Austin Eckler? Can we stop Mike Williams? I mean, Anthony Averett had the worst game I've ever seen from a cornerback Monday night. So can he bounce back? Can we get those turnovers? Again, I said this last week. I said this the week before.
Yeah.
One fumble a game is not going to cut it, especially in the first quarter, early second quarter. We need to get an interception. We need to get that big turnover, like in that Chiefs game Sunday night a couple of weeks ago. We need to get that big turnover. I really like the Chargers in this one, Joe. But after being there Monday night, I got to go with the Ravens. And another key stat under Lamar Jackson in the Lamar Jackson era, we are 13-0 coming off of short rest. We have not lost coming off a short rest, and I think the average winning margin is like 10 points. It's like two scores or something like that. So that's something to see. We're at home again. It's going to be a fun game. I'll definitely be tailgating. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I got to go with my boys here. I really like the
Of
Chargers
course.
as well. I really thought I'd be picking them, but I got to go with the Ravens. And likewise, I got to get a game on you here and there.
There you go. No, it'll be a really good game. That can definitely go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And could come down to kicking, which we've seen has come down to in the past couple of weeks. Kicking is
Hmm.
good. And we have this guy called Justin Tucker on our team. So that helps a little bit, Joe. um,
Solid, solid.
Now moving on to the 4 o'clock slate. Again, this would have been game of the day. The Cardinals at the Browns. Browns are a 3.5 point favorite. The over under is 49. But both teams are very injured, Joe, or COVID. I mean, Nick Chubb, Cliff Kingsbury is not playing. I believe their starting defensive tackle is out as well. I don't know the name off the top of my head. But this is a very game that's injured, missing a couple of pieces here and there. But Joe, Cardinals, Browns on the road. I think the weather doesn't look too fantastic either. So who's winning this game?
Yeah, this is a tough one, Tim. I was leaning Cardinals most of the week about this one, but with Cliff Kingsbury and multiple offensive staff members, not being able to be at this game, I mean, and with the poor weather, even without Nick Chubb, I just feel like this matchup favors the Browns. I mean, Kareem Hunt is still a guy that you can absolutely feed the rock to and get a lot of production from. So I just see them handing the ball off a lot this game, moving the ball with ease. I mean, it's just going to be tough for the Cardinals offense to get into that rhythm without their primary play caller there. So it's tough. It can definitely go either way. I think that kind of tips the scales for me. No Cliff Kingsbury. Again, I was leaning Cardinals all week because they've got a lot more firepower on offense, and we're asking Baker Mayfield to keep up with all that. I don't know if Baker's the guy to do that, but I think that Kevin Stefanski is going to have to coach the game of his life, and the Cardinals are there are going to be mistakes and
Mm.
consequences of Cliff Kingsbury not being able to be here. It's how bad are those mistakes going to be? How much is it going to show up on the field in the final score? So yeah, I like the Browns in this one. Give me Cleveland.
Yeah, Joe, I'm kind of with you on this one. I mean, to me, this is a game of are the Cardinals actually a 5-0 and a legit threat to win the Super Bowl, or are they kind of not as real? The Browns are a very very talented team. They are a lot of Super Bowl picks as well. But this, to me, this comes down to the Cardinals' defense. I agree with the play calling a little bit, but I think they have the skill positions. I think the key is going to be the Cardinals defense stopping Baker Mayfield, limiting Kareem Hunt and Odell, and even some of the tight ends as well. And can they get pressure from the defensive line? Likewise, Joe, offensively, Cardinals running game is okay. Like it's not great, so they need to be able to
And
move the ball.
no Rodney Hudson this week,
Yeah,
right?
no Rodney Hudson,
That's huge.
no Chandler Jones, I believe as well, or maybe he just came off the list.
Mm.
I don't know. So I'm going with the Browns as well. I would love the Cardinals to win, but I just think the Browns are a more complete team. And being in Cleveland, a little bit of home cooking. I think I'm going to go with the Browns on this one. And now we got a divisional matchup in the AFC West. We got the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Raiders with their new interim head coach after all of the drama. Broncos are a 4-point favorite. Over under is 43.5. Joe, do the Raiders kind of get behind this interim head coach and win, or are the Broncos going to win this game? I mean, again, this could be a very, very ugly game, but who are you going with?
Yeah, I think that the Raiders season is about to unravel completely unless this interim head coach and the rest of the team can rally and come together. But with just the magnitude of the scandal about John Gruden that we kind of followed throughout this past week. I mean, these guys have to be affected by it. We saw it on Sunday; they were affected by it. And how crazy is it? Khalil Mack, in John Gruden's final game, goes off against him, just like you said, it
Yeah,
revenge game for Khalil Mack, and it happened. I just don't feel good about the Raiders overall right now as an organization either. I mean, if their owner Mark Davis was willing to keep John Gruden on, after knowing about the emails and the NFL had to like leak more to force him to fire him, like that speaks to the culture that's going on there. So I just, everything going on with the Raiders, I just can't hitch my wagon to them, even against a Broncos team that I feel like they're pretty well matched against. This Broncos team, we've talked about them. I think they're right at or just above average and are able to beat the teams that they're better than, which I think that the Raiders are. So, yeah, I think the Broncos are going to have a really good defensive game, and the Raiders are just going to be not 100% there.
yeah, I'm going with the Broncos as well. I just think there's too much drama. We saw that last week with Jacksonville. Of course, they were playing Tennessee, a much better team than the Broncos, but still, it's too much. And yeah, you said it as well. It's crazy that they released a couple of emails on that Thursday, Friday, and it was like, you should probably fire him. And then they said no. And then they were like, all right, on Monday, and they just released all the other ones. And they were like, all right, you got to fire him now because, like, there was a couple emails, just kidding. There was like
Yeah.
hundreds and more slanders and slurs and everything like that. So definitely dysfunctional. But also the Broncos are playing some good ball. The defense is there. Offense attempted a comeback last week against a very good Steelers defense on the road. So they seem to be clicking again as well with Teddy as the quarterback. So I'm going with the Broncos in home cooking. And yeah, I agree with you. I think this could be the spiral of the Raiders and definitely upsetting that the Ravens had to play them before this. As an Eagles fan, you guys get them next week.
I
So
know.
a little bit
Mid
there.
unravel.
Yeah, and Joe, now it's a game that, again, we both probably don't want to pick a winner here, but we got the Cowboys at the Patriots. Cowboys are a 3.5 point road favorite. The over under is 50.5. Patriots had a clawback against the Texans, but they did fumble on the goal line. They had a couple of turnovers, and Davis Mills played great. I mean, Davis Mills and Russell Wilson, the two rookies with 3 touchdowns against the Bill Belichick defense. We got the Cowboys' high power offense rolling into town. Joe, can Belichick's defense contain Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, CD Lamb, all these offensive weapons? And can Mac Jones do enough against this Cowboys defense to win, or are the Cowboys going to be winning this game?
Unfortunately, I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one, Tim. I think that while the Patriots defense, has the ability to slow down this Cowboys offense, force some turnovers, some short fields, I'm just not confident in the Patriots offense being able to move the ball consistently and score enough points to keep up with this high powered Dallas offense. So not going to spend a lot of time on this one, Tim. I just don't think that the Patriots, firepower on offense is enough to compete with a team like Dallas. I mean, even if your defense has such a great game, you're still allowing probably around 30 points, to this Dallas team. So I I just don't see the offense being able to put up that many, against, I mean, in general, but against the Cowboys defense that's also overachieving. So yeah, Cowboys, unfortunately. But I'll be rooting for the Patriots, as you know.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cowboys as well. I just think it's the safest pick, and we'll see. I think the Cowboys defense is going to be able to hold Mac Jones in that running game to field goals and a couple of points, and then I do think that the offense will score a couple more touchdowns. It's going to be a close game. I think it will be a battle, but I do think the Cowboys will prevail at the end. So I'm going with the Cowboys. And now it's time for Sunday night football, Joe. And when the schedule came out, you kind of say, all right, like Russell Wilson, Steelers defense on the road in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Maybe Ben Roethlisberger now that he has lost some weight, Najee Harris. But now this is not a game that I would enjoy to watch. We got Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks without Chris Carson. The annual Chris Carson goes to IR just happened the other day. Steelers are a 5.5 point home favorite. The over under is 43. Joe, can Geno Smith do this coming off extra rest need? I mind you, coming off a Thursday night, a couple of extra days. Can Geno Smith do it against the Steelers, or are we going to see the Steelers defense dominate and the offense do just enough to win this game?
Yeah, give me the Steelers in this one. I'm definitely not confident in Geno Smith moving the ball consistently against anyone, let alone the Steelers defense. And the Seahawks defense is still yet to show up. I think Najee Harris is going to have a really good game. No Juju in this game, so Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool are going to be getting a lot of work, and Najee is just going to continue to get fed. And I think Najee has a really good game. And Geno Smith isn't able to do much. Steelers defense probably a Minka Fitzpatrick touchdown at some point in this game. I'll just throw that out there. Yeah, give the Steelers easy game. Geno Smith, he ain't it.
Yeah, and Geno Smith had a 99-yard drive. He actually didn't look terrible Thursday night against the
Right?
Rams defense. I'm going with the Steelers as well. Pains me to do this, but I just think that defense is going to be too much for Geno Smith. I think a key is that Chris Carson injury. If he was in the game and they could establish some sort of healthy running game, maybe open up the play action a little bit for Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and some of the weapons in the passing game, you can definitely see the Seahawks pulling this one out for sure. But I just think with Geno Smith, no Chris Carson, no knowns of the running game. Of course, we don't know who's going to be the couple of backs or sharing some snaps.
Former Baltimore Raven great Alex Collins, Tim.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't trust that Seattle running game. I don't think Geno Smith is as athletic as he has been. Russell Wilson still kind of has that edge where if he needed to run for 10, 15 yards, he could. I don't see that in Geno Smith. I do think the Steelers offense can do just enough. They're still not fantastic, but I'm going to go with the Steelers to win this game for sure, comfortably at home. And then they need to win because the schedule only gets tougher from there. And now Monday Night Football, Joe, again, another game. Schedule comes out. You're saying, all right, sweet. These are two of the top teams in the AFC. It's not really the case right now. The Bills at the Titans. Bills are a 5.5 point favorite on the road. Titans over under is 53. And Titans are still probably going to win that division. They still have Derrick Henry. They still look okay. But man, the Bills, after beating Kansas City last week on the road Sunday Night Football, now you're going at the Titans. That would be huge if they can win both of these games. I'm going with the Bills just because I think they're the best team in the AFC right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. Defense still needs a little bit of work, but they're getting turnovers, which is key. Titans, I just don't trust them to pick them. That defense is still struggling a little bit. Obviously, Derrick Henry is going to do Derrick Henry things, but we've seen that that's not really enough for this offense. So I'm going with the Bills in this one. Joe, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Tim. I mean, Josh Allen's playing some great football. He's spreading the ball around. Their defense is playing, I think, a little bit better than people give them credit
Mhm.
for. They've got such a deep defensive line rotation that those guys are just fresh and coming after the quarterback all game long. Um, yeah, I mean, Titans have been struggling to start the season. They're just not really there yet. They're not clicking. While the Bills are coming off their one of the biggest wins in recent memory for them. So they're going really well for the Bills right now, and the Titans are still struggling. I just don't think that they're going to be able to figure out a way to get back on track and get this win against one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Buffalo Bills.
I definitely agree, and who knows? Maybe they do show up, but I'm going with the Bills in this one. So, Joe, we are only opposite on one game this week, so we are riding the ship together for
You sure
all.
you don't want to switch to the Vikings against the Panthers? That's a tough one.
No, no, I don't, Joe. I don't, Joe. But that'll do it for our picks of the Week 6 NFL season here on the Flea Flicker. Joe, I know you have some final words, so I'll just bring it up. Philadelphia Eagles trade Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals. Thursday night, he did score a touchdown in his final game in an Eagles uniform. So, Joe, I guess thoughts and say your goodbyes to Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, one of the best draft picks that Chip Kelly ever had. He'll probably go down as the best tight end in Eagles history. So many iconic moments throughout his career, phenomenal catches on third down for a key first down, touchdowns when we needed it. The Super Bowl, he had some of the biggest plays in that game. And has just been a class act on and off the field, just very beloved by the city of Philadelphia. They're definitely going to miss him and Julie Ertz, who have done a lot throughout the city. But it was time. We talked about this on a lot of episodes. We thought that he was going to get traded during the draft or in the training camp. Didn't happen. The Eagles rolled the dice in terms of keeping him on the roster and hoping another team suffers an injury to tight end. That happened to the Cardinals and Max Williams, unfortunately, and they raised their price a little bit, and the Eagles pulled the trigger. So they knew going into the Thursday night game that that trade was happening, that Zach Ertz was aware of it, and he and the Eagles wanted him to play so that, he could have one last game in Philadelphia, knowing, he was a very involved part of the offense, got that touchdown that I thought was really cool. And he even did a press conference with the Philadelphia media after his trade was announced, which is very rare for situations like that. So, class act all the way around. I'll definitely miss him. He's been, I guess part of the team for 8 years now, since 2013. I was I think like a junior or senior in high school. So, he's definitely been a big part of the Philadelphia Eagles for a while. Replaced Brent Selleck, a legendary tight end, which was not easy to do. But we have Dallas Goedert waiting in the wings, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, this two tight end offense, like, it's nice in theory, but you can't pay both of these guys. And Dallas is younger. He offers a little bit more upside at this point in his career, and he's due for a contract extension. While, we now cleared up a bunch of money moving on from Ertz, got another draft pick and a corner that the Eagles liked in this past draft. So I feel like it's a win-win-win for literally everybody involved. Cardinals now get a quality tight end to replace Max Williams, and Ertz goes to a contender, a 5-0 team on the West Coast where he went to college in Stanford. So I think it's a win for everybody involved, except for the fans who just love Zach Ertz. But, from a rational, logical perspective, this is definitely the right move. And we're very lucky he did not get injured on Thursday night or throughout the season, because then we would have been on the hook for his contract. But instead, now we got it away and, got some value from it. So great trade all around. I'll be sorry to see him go, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it as well. Two big catches, the fourth down conversion on the final drive, or one of the final drives for the Eagles, as well as that
Yep.
go-ahead touchdown. So far, the only game-winning touchdown in Eagles Super Bowl history, and it's probably going to be the case for the next couple of seasons at least
Right,
still.
right.
But also, great trade from the Cardinals. They get a solid tight end. And a fun fact, I don't know if you know this, Joe, the Cardinals have not had a 100-yard tight end since 1989. They have not had a tight end get over 100
It
yards.
doesn't shock me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny, on the picture, they showed a Todd Heap on the Eagles, and I'm like, it's bad when they're throwing Todd Heap Cardinals on the picture. So
Right.
a great addition to that offense, as well, and I think that just opens up all these wide receivers that the Cardinals have as well, because now you add Zach Ertz into the mix, and we saw Thursday night, we've seen even in the last year and a half, he's still very capable when healthy to put up numbers and be a factor
Oh,
in
yeah.
games. So, and a great trade from the Eagles as well, getting the cornerback that they like as well. Fifth round pick, was it?
I think he was their sixth round pick
Sixth round.
last year.
Yeah, I'm just saying
And then
they
we
send you
all
a draft pick as well.
yeah, it was a fifth round
Okay,
pick.
okay,
So
yeah.
it was essentially like two late round draft picks. Cause I mean, we got their sixth round pick that the Eagles liked from this year, and a fifth round in this upcoming draft.
Yeah,
So
and
now we have 10 draft picks.
that's just adding to your draft capital. I would be shocked if you took 3 top 10 picks. I would say maybe you trade one to get some capital. That's for the offseason. We'll see what happens when the draft comes, of course. But yeah, a lot of draft capital, and it definitely is bittersweet, but that's just the business of how it works. So best of luck to
Right.
Zach Ertz and the Arizona Cardinals offense the next couple of weeks to finish out the season. But Joe, any other final words for you on this week?
Run the ball, Nick Sirianni. Run the goddamn ball. That's all I got.
All right, run the ball indeed, Joe. Run the ball indeed. But that'll do it for this episode of the Flea Flicker. If you guys haven't already, hit that thumbs up button to like it and subscribe to the channel. That's Joey D over there. I'm Timmy B. Everybody, best of luck to fantasy this week. Best of luck to your teams, and best of luck to your bets. We will see you midweek for our reaction and our Thursday night football pick. I do believe it's a little bit better, Joe. I think it's Cardinals or Packers Cardinals this week. So,
Ooh,
um,
that'll we'll get to see Zach Ertz's debut.
oh, back to back Thursdays. All righty then. Well, as I said, that's Joey D. I'm Timmy B, guys. Peace out.